Hey there, YouTubes. This is Grimweird coming back at you with more Project Ozone 3 Kappa mode playthrough action. So, last time we blew up some chickens, we got some bobbly hearts, we did all sorts of crazy stuff. I think this time we'll start out with what I've been doing over in Landia. So, I wanted to get into EnderIO. In particular, I wanted to get an alloy smelter because it does all the things, or nearly all the things, as I'm finding out. It doesn't do all the things. It has 228 recipes, though, so that's pretty good. And it does some stuff that I wanted to get done. So if we take a look at that recipe, the simple alloy smelter, I sort of knew from experience playing Enigmatica 2 Expert that this thing was slow and annoying. So I knew I wanted to bypass that as soon as possible. I had to make it and use it for a little bit just to make a few things that were components of the upgraded alloy smelter. So what I did was I went ahead and right from the start I made 3 simple alloy smelters. And since they're so damn slow, I hooked 2 of them up and used that to get things like the green dye and the organic black dye and something else I needed, I think. And then I went ahead and jumped straight into the industrial machine chassis for the alloy smelter, the upgraded one. And this upgraded one is wonderful. I've been using it a ton. I've even got an unremarkable capacitor, which the enhanced smelting means that it goes up to 3.01 to 3.5 speed multiplier for smelting for the alloy smelter. I got that out of a loot bag. So that thing is doing well. It's quite a relief. Still doesn't do electrotine, which pisses me off, but whatever. We won't talk about that. The unfortunate thing is that when I went to do this, I realized that Ender Ingot requires Dawnstone Ingot. And Dawnstone is basically I don't even see where it is on here. But basically, Dawnstone is made through Embers Rekindled, through the Embers Rekindled stamp, which isn't even really on here. So I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to know that if you don't Google it, which is what I had to do. So I looked here and went, okay, molten Dawnstone, that's a piece of cake. That's just gold and copper. However, I threw some in the smelter and it would not spill out into an ingot mold and get cast. So I was like, well, great. Yeah, so this is the only recipe it was. You could put an ember shard in there and pour some molten Dawnstone on it and get a Dawnstone asbestos. So I've used that mechanism, but I still was having some problems figuring out how to make the goddamn Dawnstone ingots. So finally I had to figure out what was going on with Embers Rekindled. Fortunately, a YouTuber named 2Asgard, that's capital T-O space capital A SGAARD. He's a great builder, does a lot of good looking builds. And he happens to be playing PO3K right now too. And he did an episode or two like a week or two ago about Embers Rekindled. So I watched his stuff and that was helpful for me figuring out what was going on. If we take a look, one of the problems I was having was the book was it wasn't clear what was going on with the book. So that's probably the first thing I should mention is that if we go in here, I've got it in my Akashic Tome, but if we open up this Ancient Codex, so when you first open this up, most of these little tabs don't work, except for maybe this one, and when you open it up, there's maybe like 1 or 2 things here, but it doesn't really tell you much. In fact, okay, it's reset itself. Well, that's annoying. So basically what you have to do is you have to right click on everything to show that you've read it and acknowledged it. When I first saw this, I thought things opened up, like the Thaumonomicon. So in other words, I thought I had to do something to get all the other recipes to open up. But that is not the case. You just have to right-click on them to acknowledge them. Unfortunately, as I just found out, if you do it in the Akashic Tome, it appears to reset your progress through this. But anyway, as you do this, it then opens up the other stuff. So if we go through all of this junk, and now you can see other things are now available to read. But you don't actually have to do anything to get through these other than click on them. And now that I know that the Akashic Tome seems to reset it, I probably wouldn't put it in Akashic Tome. So the first thing we had to do is get a bunch of Ember Shards. And Ember Shards come from basically two places. The ancient golems that you can find a lot of in the hunting dimension will drop not these. What am I thinking of here? Okay, let's go downstairs and take a look, because I think I have some downstairs. So I've started building stuff downstairs, as you can see. I even have an Embers Rekindled area here. So the ancient golems will drop archaic brick, not ancient brick. 4 of these will combine to make, let's see, let's just go archaic. They will make archaic bricks like these, and then you can put these through the sluice box. So if we hit U here, go to sluice box, each archaic brick that you put through will give you 4 Ember Shards. Ember Shards are the fuel that you burn to get energy, which is Ember, for Embers Rekindled. So you need a bunch of Ember Shards, or their big brothers, the Ember Crystals, like these guys, to basically act like the fuel you need for doing all of this stuff. So here's what I've got going. I've got put glass over it because the lava was shedding sparks. But what I've got here is a pressure refinery. This is actually the tier 2 generator, if you will, for embers. The first one is like an ember activator, which is like a crappy little furnace generator. And then this one is the bigger daddy that burns embers more efficiently. It's got a copper block under it, and it's a 2-block multi-block structure. And then on top of that is an ember emitter and a Kammonite lever, which basically everything in Embers Rekindled, whenever you're doing anything, you pretty much have to put a lever on it. The ember emitter basically is a wireless shoot power places. And so basically you shoot things from the ember emitter to an ember receptor. So over here I have a copper cell, which is basically a capacitor or battery for ember. It's got a ember dial on it. If you look at the ember dial, it's at 24,000 ember out of 24,000 ember. So this capacitor is essentially full. It also has a ember emitter on it. So in addition to receiving, or being a receptor of the ember from my generator over here, it will also then emit from the battery over to the stamping press, essentially. An ember receptor, and this is the stamp base and the stamper, and then it's got a ingot, or I think they call that a bar cast or a bar plate in it. So if we turn all this on, is that it? I forget. It uses all these damn levers and I forget which levers are which. So usually, if you're doing a full-on embers thing, the way to make Dawnstone out of gold and copper is to have two melters, or one melter sequentially make molten gold and copper, and then there is a centrifuge that will alloy them, and then you pump from the centrifuge into the base of the stamper. But here I had made a bunch in my smelter, so I just put it in a drum and I'm moving it from the drum into there. So you can see if I look up in here, I've got the stuff in there. I'm not... Aha. So what it's doing is it's shooting embers out of my battery. Oh, and that thing's still shooting fire over there. Don't like using lava in my base necessarily, but fortunately the crate doesn't seem to catch on fire. So basically we're wirelessly shooting power from my battery to the top of the stamper. We're pumping the molten Dawnstone into the base of the stamper, and we have, whenever you pipe things with the Embers Rekindled, you have to have an extractor and then a pipe. So we've got a fluid extractor here and a fluid pipe, and then to take the items out, we've got an item extractor and an item pipe. And as you can see, we are making Dawnstone Ingots. And it has paused. I'm not sure why. Maybe I've turned this off. Yes. Alright, so I'm going to turn this back off. And I'm going to turn that back off. Maybe. Still haven't exactly figured this thing out. Maybe I turn it off at the receiver. Oh, it's almost out of molten stuff. Anyway, that's basically it. And over here, you put your ember shards or ember crystals in here. And once again, we have an item extractor to an item pipe going into the base of the pressure refinery. And then it also requires water, so I made a water generator for Magnetic Craft since that was a quest. And it has a fluid extractor and a fluid pipe. And I think this will stop when this is full of power. I don't think it just wastes stuff. But here's the melter. I made it because it's a quest, but I'm not using it. Here's the mixer centrifuge, which will alloy the gold and the copper into molten Dawnstone. Here's the Ember activator, which is like the tier 1 Ember generator that you can put Ember in to burn it and form Ender Energy. But I went straight to the bigger model. And there's also a fluid dial if you want to watch how much fluid is in a tank or whatnot. It's an atmospheric gauge which supposedly tells you how much ember is in the area for when you're mining ember. However, I think the mechanisms changed somewhere in 1.11. So I think it used to be like in 1.10 and earlier that you would find a chunk with high ember and you would mine and the ember would go down and then you would move your bore to another one. But people didn't like that, I guess, so it was changed. So now ember basically just ebbs and flows. So it'll go high for a while and low for a while. This confused the hell out of me, as we will see in a moment. When I took this over to the hunting dimension to try and figure out where to set up a bore. So the bore has to be at against bedrock, but it also has to be at a low Y level. So it says in the description of the quest that you can put it in this overworld down at Y equals 5 or less, and get stuff to work in this dimension without bedrock being down there at Y equals 5 or less. But since I don't have flight yet, or angel blocks or anything like that, I just did not feel like going down there. And I thought to myself, hey, let's go to the hunting dimension. I have tons of bedrock exposed over there. I'll just find myself a nice place to put it over there. And I ran around with the atmospheric gauge before figuring out that I would see a place and it would look good, and then I would run around some more and I would come back and it looked bad again. And I was getting pissed off, and then I realized that I think that whole mechanic has changed now. So over here in the hunting dimension, I have done some things. So one of the things I did was I deployed, as you can see here, my little blue stars. Hey buddy. I deployed some Spectre Illuminators. Last time I talked about these guys that I made out of the Spectre sapling, which I grew in a hopping bonsai to get ectoplasm and make these guys. I deployed them here. If we take a look at the map, you can see I'm lighting up basically 6 chunks or maybe 8 chunks here, which is really helping out. Like if I go away for a while and then come back, nothing has spawned in this area. Now I was running around a bit, so there is stuff out here now. I also expanded the walls. I made things a little better. If we look down here, well, you can't really see it here, but oops. I put in doors. I put in some steel doors. I put in some framed pressure plates. The frame ones, I can make them look, I can click a chiseled cobblestone on there to make them look like chiseled cobblestone. And also the block craftery pressure plates, I can make ones that only react to players. So this one right outside the door does not turn on, does not open up for monsters. So that's sort of cool. If we look up, I do have, oops, and I've accidentally placed some extra stuff here. I was running around with a building tool in my hand, and sometimes I accidentally click on something I don't mean to. So this should be fixed. I'll do that a different time, but well, actually I better do it now. I don't want spiders climbing up. What I actually came up here to show you was that I built a lip on there so that spiders wouldn't come in. So I've got a stair lip and an overhang so that spiders won't climb into our base, except for where I've screwed up here and something shooting at me. Yeah. Alright, everybody just calm down for a moment. So yeah, let's remove this real quick here. I was working on this partly before I got the lights set up, which was, it was the insanity of trying to do this with monsters climbing all over me that caused me to say, hey, I should go make my building gadgets and get those running. But as you can see, hello buddy. But as you can see, I've got a lip here so spiders can't come in. I also then decided to expand, and I'll show you this, but I decided that this has a lot of bedrock and I didn't want to go down to y equals 5 in our dimension. So I built down here. I put up some walls. I've got my MooFluid Cow storage here because it was getting a little crowded in my base, so I've got all the MooFluid Cows that I'm not using stored here. And then I've got my, this beast is loud. So this is the Ember Bore. I hope it's not too loud on the video. I'll stand back a ways. So the Ember Bore is that basically 3x3 thing down at the bottom. Then you put a mechanical core on top of it, which acts as sort of an interface, almost like it basically gives you more places to plug into it. And then if we run up there, you can see I've got an item extractor pulling coal out of one chest, and an item pipe going into the mechanical core. And then I've got an item extractor pulling the finished ember out of the mechanical core and putting it into another chest. So this is what I'm pulling out. And this is what I'm putting in for fuel. And we'll get away from that because it's loud. This area right here, I plan to put a bunch of dispensers and do some automated grains of infinity using dispensers with flint and steels. I just haven't gotten around to that yet because I haven't really needed to yet, but I will soon. One of the things I wanted to show you is I decided I had already cleared out a lot of this area just mining for dirt and experience before I got experience out of my mob farm. But one thing I wanted to show was, if we go to daylight, there are a couple of villages on towers of cobblestone out here, so I wanted to go check those out. And fortunately, by vein mining dirt and leaving the grass blocks above it, I was able to quickly and easily go through here. I used a bunch of torches. I don't actually think that monsters will spawn on bedrock, so I probably didn't need to use all these torches, but I'm not 100% sure of that. And whenever I searched for mob spawn bedrock, all I got was information on the bedrock edition of Minecraft, and so I just said, heck with it. I like being able to see anyway, and I don't have night vision yet. So I went around here with the atmospheric gauge. I would find chunks that seemed to be high in ember. Then I would go and come back and they would be low in ember, and it was pissing me off. So finally I just set it under my base. But this is the bottom outline of one of the cobblestone towers that the village is sitting on. And so basically I just dug my way up through it and put a ladder in it. This made it real easy to get there and play around in the village. I had my building tools set to build to me. So basically I just pointed anywhere I wanted to go and said build to me, and threw down cobblestone paths everywhere to connect the towers. So that was pretty easy. I used up a bunch of cobblestone, but I don't care. I'm generating lots of it. There's lots of villagers up here, including the immersive engineering guys that will give you, all sorts of immersive engineering stuff like treated sticks, and do all sorts of other, immersive engineering stuff. There's pneumatic craft stuff. I'm not familiar with pneumatic craft at all, but you can find those guys up here. If we look around, so here's where I would just point places with the build to me gadget. Let me get that out and I'll show you what I mean, because this was really handy for getting around here. So if I get my building gadget out, right now it's set for surface. We don't want to do that. So I hit and hold G, which is the default one here, and I would say build to me, and now I would just point places and it would build stuff. So I would, point over here and it would build things up to a range of 15. So this is how I built all these pathways here. It was actually pretty quick. It looks a lot more painful than it was. But anyway, I ran around here, so this was all cool. And nothing really spawned up here. A few things spawned a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. I found rice seeds eventually, and then there's my base way over there. And then I got picked up some flax and some canola and some rice seeds here. Um, and then later I was sifting some more dirt and finally got some rice seeds from dirt as well. I right-clicked on the waystone. I haven't played with waystones before, but there's a recipe to make one of our own, and then we will be able to potentially travel to here through the waystone, so that's sort of cool. I stole some immersive engineering chests and other stuff. I tend to also steal some green wool, because that's cool and useful. So yeah, I looted the place, found some interesting stuff, nothing too major or too exciting. This village had actually multiple immersive engineering ones. You can see I did steal the, the wool out of this one. But yeah, cool stuff. But anyway, that is what I'm doing in the hunting dimension. The most dangerous thing I did up here was when I started creating these paths, the iron golems started walking around, and they are quite adept at trying to bump me off my paths, so I gotta watch out for them. But yeah, so that was sort of interesting. From here, I was able to, let's see, where am I? Here. So if we look off of this away, this away. Oh well. Bottom line is, there it is off in the distance. That village over there, I was able to use my slime shot and glider and basically just glide over to that one. I did not light it up as much as this one. A few monsters did spawn up there. It's a bit smaller and had less stuff in it, but it was still interesting. And I did still steal a few things. I even stuck the landing when I went over there. I thought for sure I was going to miss landing on something, but I stuck the landing, slammed myself into the side of a building like this, and then fell into the area. So that was pretty cool. So I've looked through these two things. I activated both waystones, and that's about all I have to say about villages. So I think that's all we're going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and fly back just for fun. Where is my base? It's off this direction somewhere. There it is. Home again. So yeah, pretty happy with all this. Happy with the lighting. This is a boring looking building, and it's I'm probably not going to dress it up because this is not my home dimension. I do have a bunch of cow storage here. Molten Constantan. I got magma. I got a couple gelid cryotheums, a couple of zephyr erothiums, enderium. I think I got a bunch of cows here that I've been getting by exploding chickens through genetic modification, which cracks me up. But anyway, that's about all I have to say about that. You've now seen my hunting dimension base for ember boring and for cow storage and for villaging. I got really lucky, so this Ankh of Prey, if you right-click it on the ground and shoot it like a bow near a decorative grave, it'll give you a buff. Now, sometimes those buffs are completely useless, Sometimes they are annoying. There was one where a bunch of angels started spawning at me for 12 minutes, and they were doing damage to me if they hit me, so they would fly around a bit and then dive bomb me. It was called something like Inspiration or something. And then when they died, they would leave, like if they just died on their own, well, actually, no matter how they died, they would give a bunch of experience and some loot. But if they hit you, they also did damage. So basically, I had to run around in circles dodging for 12 minutes after realizing I couldn't kill them and realizing that was what was going on. I basically just ran in a circle here while they dive bombed into the ground and died. And then eventually they stopped, and I did get a lot of experience from it. I'm growing some pumpkins because I wanted to make some nature clusters. So one thing I talked about last time is that I want to get the Empowerer up and running so that I can make some empowered stuff and get a dank null. So I have started putting that together here. I've made it. Unfortunately, I don't have big enough item filters to do the automation I want to do. So right now, I also made Ender Energy Conduits, which was quite a chore in this mod pack. I haven't done that whole thing where you go from the crude steel, crappy conduits and then have to upgrade those and upgrade those and upgrade those and upgrade those. But that was a sort of a long, brutal process, but sort of needed to be done because Empower takes a lot of energy, and I wasn't going to try and do it with crappy immersive engineering wires. Anyway, so basically I just need good filters here to guide which materials go to which pedestals, and I can't make those quite yet. I need to make a slice and dice, and I haven't quite gotten around to it. However, I do have everything lined up to make 3 blocks of empowered Restonia, 3 blocks of empowered oops, I need to convert that over. Restonia, I need to convert that over too. Diamantine, Emeratic. The only thing I'm missing is vines for the Emeratic, so I'm going to need to... I looked around Landia, I didn't see any vines. I was able to get thorn vines in the nether. I was able to get fluorite from taking nether lapis ore, smelting it into normal overworld lapis ore, and then breaking it with my looting hammer. Beryllium ingot, I got beryllium dust from breaking something, I forget what. Rhodochrosite, I believe I got that from taking netherrack redstone ore, smelting it into normal redstone ore, and then breaking that with my pick. Obtained a long redstone when breaking redstone ore. Obtained a long lapis lazuli when breaking lapis lazuli ore. So yeah, that's what happens there. Gray dye, I was able to just mix some black and white. Cyan dye, I was just able to mix some cactus green with some lapis blue. Nether bricks, most of these are pretty easy and no big deal. Prismarine, you can make that with the atomic reconstructor out of nether quartz. So snowballs, I had to get out of a frozen core from a loot bag. But on the whole, I got everything ready to go except for the vines, which I have not seen anywhere yet. There are probably some in the Twilight Forest, but I can't quite get there yet. But you can craft them out of nature essence. So I am going to finally get around to doing some mystical agriculture. So to get nature essence, we are going to make a nature seed and grow it in crop sticks. So I just made pumpkin, cactus, sugar, and wheat into nature clusters. And that will allow me to now do this recipe and make the nature seed. So next time we will have a dank null. Let's see. Boom, nature seed. So between this episode and next, I will grow some of those up. That's going to allow us to get actually all the way to the, when I make all that stuff, it's going to allow us to get all the way up to the, so this is Restonia, this is Palace Crystal, this is Inori, this is, for some reason, just aluminum brass, which I can smelt, and then we have diamantine and emeradic, so we should be able to get all the way up to the maximum dank null, hopefully, shortly after this episode when I grow up some of that nature essence. I need to go grab a drink. I will pause here and be right back. Okay, I am back, and we have quite a bit more time left in this episode, so I should remember to convert these before I forget. So we'll turn those into Nori blocks, and turn these into Palace blocks. Palace crystal, Inori crystal, bueno. Put these back down here. I've decided this looks too busy, so I'm playing around with using, this is dark oak hunting dimension blocks, and I sort of like the look of it if used sparingly. This is too much of it. So we're going to pull that up and we'll just use it as accent. I needed to build a little platform here because even though I like thick floors, my floor isn't thick enough to do all the under the machine stuff I want to do for the Empowerer, so it'll be up on a pedestal. I started putting in some walls. I need to build more concrete. I might change the ceiling from, well, I don't know, I'll probably leave it pure white. But I'm going to enclose everything, and then I'm going to open up windows. I think once I get flight, which hopefully won't be too much further off, next week sometime, I might go out here and I might put fake windows in here. So in other words, fill the windows with scenes, either interdimensional weirdness scenes, like have some crazy liquids in the windows, or something like that, or maybe even just sort of have like terrarium style windows. In other words, put a little garden of trees or flowers or whatnot out there, so that it looks like we're on ground. And I got to decorate it. I still haven't figured out exactly what I want to do there. Although I did pick up a bunch of... Oh, so I was saying that the Ankh of Prey gave me some buffs. One of the ones it gave me was flight, so I had 12 minutes of flight, or maybe it was only 10 minutes of flight. Anyway, I did pick up some basalt. When I had flight, I went and got some thorn vines out of the nether, and I got a bunch of basalt out of the nether. I flew up and harvested a bunch of glowstone. So you can see I got a bunch of stacks of glowstone from flying up and bashing things, so that was good. I set up my nature seed here, so we'll let that grow. It's at 25%. I need 3 nature essence to make my vines, and then I will have a dank null. So I have, this is all going well. Since last episode, a lot of my time's been AFK, but this is all the stuff that I've gotten. So I've condensed this much, and I've gotten this much that's uncondensed. We are up to now 272 artifact loot bags that we could pull and open if we want. Over here is where I've been blowing up chickens to get MooFluid Cows. So that's been sort of fun. At the end of the episode, we might blow up a few more chickens, get a few more cows. I've got 2 glowstone ones. I've got 2 redstone ones. So that's sort of cool. Iridium is on my on-deck metal. And I got a liquefacted coal one, which is handy. These guys, I've sort of stopped milking them. We've got 200 buckets of it. The tree oil is going to burn in my combustion dynamo at 400,000 RF per bucket, so that's sort of cool. But you can see here I've got some automation set up what I've got going on is down underneath the cow, I've got a mechanical user with a bucket. So if we look at how that's set up, get out the way, cow. If I could click around the cow. There it is. So it's set up for, I guess we could change that to upper left slot only, even though it works fine. And it's set up for entity, and it's basically clicking a bucket on it. The item stuff in there will set up to filter, so it will filter only empty buckets and send it over here. And then this will only send empty buckets back. And so every time the cow gets milked bucket, the bucket comes into a, if I click on it, a fluid tank. Mouse over it. It's an EnderIO fluid tank. And what it does is it takes the full bucket, puts it into the tank, makes an empty bucket, which gets sent back. And that's how that goes. And then I've got it set to push up into the casting table. So it's between buckets right now, so it has a half bucket, or it has a half fill here. So it will get more soon. So my electrical steel cow spent a lot of time in there. So as you can see, I've got a lot of stacks of electrical steel, which makes me happy. Now I'm running up a bunch of stacks of signalum. I'll probably give that 3 or 4 more stacks of signalum to go. Or I might just I might get several more stacks of signalum. I'm going to need a lot of that eventually. And then I'm going to move, my iridium cow is on deck, and the signalum cow will go over to the hunting dimension storage area. I'd really like to keep my cows, my not in use cows, in soul vials, but it just uses up so much nether quartz, and I sort of want to save my nether quartz towards working on applied energistics ME system. So I've decided not to do that. I did make some golden lassos. Unfortunately, soul vials will tell you what kind of MooFluid cow is in there. All that golden lassos will tell you when you mouse over them is that there is a MooFluid cow in there. So if I put a bunch into golden lassos, I wouldn't be able to tell which one was which unless I took them out of storage. So that's annoying. So I heard a bucket go off, and you can see now we are making ingots again. And I think one bucket makes, I don't know, 6 or 7 ingots. So that's 6 or 7 ingots every 3 minutes. So it's not too bad for something that you can just set up and forget. Speaking of automated cows, I have a second creosote cow. I can't remember if I had that last time. More importantly, I've got a grassoline cow. Now, grassoline actually is 800,000 RF per bucket in the compression dynamo. So I have the same kind of setup over here. There's a mechanical user with a bucket under the cow. It's putting it into the EnderIO fluid tank, which is then pushing it up into this bucket. I've got 121 buckets of grassoline. I haven't set up my compression dynamo yet because I'm not using much power yet. This thing is full at 54 million. And so I haven't had a real reason to set it up quite yet. But when I start using the Empower, that will burn a lot of power. So if I burn a huge amount of this thing, I will use the compression dynamo to fill it back up. What else is going on? Let's see. Oh, Spectre Illuminators. When last we met, I had put some of those Spectre Illuminators in my base. They will go to, if you turn this on, no matter where you put them in the chunk, they will go to this spot that I'm pointing at right here, the one just northwest of the center of the chunk and to the highest spot in the chunk. The problem is that I have a glitch, which other peoples have gotten, where the rotation of the Spectre Illuminators, can cause wobbling of other graphics. And it's not doing it right now because I usually log out and log back in before I start shooting a video. But from back here, if I look up so that these guys are in frame at the same time as these shelves are in frame, then the shelves do wobble around, as do the chests and whatnot. But I've got these up high enough, up at Y135, that it really doesn't bother me and it hasn't really been a problem. The ones that are in the hunting dimension are low enough to sometimes cause a problem, but I don't have so many chests and things in there, so it's not that big of a deal. Which is nice because this really brightens the place up, and it allows me to not have torches everywhere, so you can see this is all totally lit up. Basically every block in the chunk is at light source 15, so that is beautiful. So what else do I want to talk about? Let's see. I talked about Embers Rekindled. Talked about the Empower. Talked about my Alloy Smelter. Talked about my Moo Cow automation. I guess that's mostly it for this episode. The one thing I'm worried about is that, so I've got that thing set up there. I have both tried to automate my Ember Bore, or I should say chunk load my Ember Bore, through using this mechanism where you claim chunks, and then also through using this chunk loader from Chicken Chunks, but I'm not sure I'm using it right. It doesn't seem like there's a wrong way to use it, but it doesn't seem like the Ember Bore continues to run when I leave the hunting dimension. So one of the reasons I haven't made more cows was I spent a lot of time. I took one cow. Well, first of all, I made a bunch of cows and then went, God, I got too many cows. I've got to stop. And then I thought later, but I want more cows. So I took one cow over there and left it there for a while, and then logged completely out and came back and etc. to make sure it wouldn't disappear or anything, because I don't know what's going on with these other dimensions in this mod pack. And when it was stable, I took some more cows over there and made a few more cows. Yeah, so I don't necessarily want to build a lot of stuff off base or out of the overworld if it's going to act like that. If there's something in this mod pack that keeps you from chunk loading other dimensions, that might be a pain in the ass. But that might be why they mentioned that you can set up your Ember Bore in the overworld down at y=5 and get it to work. I just haven't been able to. I haven't wanted to go down there and set it up in this chunk. I'm going to wait until I have flight. Well, that does remind me that one of the things I wanted to talk about was we're actually racking up a decent amount of rack. So one nice thing about making the progression of EnderIO power cables was that I ended up making all of this conductive iron, energetic silver, electrical steel, yada yada. So we can claim all that rack. If we go back, we just did some stuff here, so we got some more rack here. And just by accident, just by trying to get stuff done, we've actually done a decent amount of quests. So there's another 35 rack, and we'll add that to our rack stack. 560. We need 768 to get creative flight in our bottle. So if we take a look here at rewards, the flight totem, ability totem is 768, or probably round up to 770 rack, and we are only a couple hundred away, which some of the quests I notice as you get up here actually pay more than 5 rack. So we may not be as far away as I was concerned we might be. And there's all sorts of stuff that I glanced quickly at the modular stuff, the modular machines thing, and I can do this kind of stuff now. I have an alloy smelter, so in theory I can do this and make modularium. So we could make so we could get some modular machines going and make some of this stuff. So I could probably pretty easily get at least 20 or 30 points there. I can easily probably make this stuff. So this would be another 20, 30 points. I don't think there's too much that's easy here. I could upgrade my cobblestone generator. I could go to Landia and look for more carrot seeds, but not a ton of points there. I could play around a bit more with barrels and get some easy points probably here. Could probably get another easy 20 points there. I'm going to get that 5 points and that 5 points here pretty quick. That's no big deal. This will be like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 points, and I probably could make one of these for 35 points. So anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that we are in danger of getting flight here in another episode or two, and that will make my day. I'm poised to make more of this stuff. I definitely want to make a sag mill. I definitely want to make, I assume it's on here somewhere, the splice and slice. So solarium, this thread here, solarium, and soul chassis and slice and splice and soul binder. I'll probably be going through those 20 points here in the next episode or two. So yeah, things are going good. I haven't made these jetpacks before, but I should start making those as well, because I bet you I could get up to at least Electrum pretty easily. And we got a bunch of machines here that are cool to make. They're just sort of a pain in the ass without auto crafting, but I can make all of this stuff. It's just a lot of clicks. So we'll start making more of those, especially the pulverizer. I think that's the one I want the most. Magma crucible and induction smelter, those are usually good. Yeah, so anyway, lots of points on the horizon. So I'm looking forward to that. Alright, well, let's go ahead and, is this done? Sure. And I got 5 essence. And I think the vines were 3 like that. Hey, we got vines. Nice. Just like I know what I'm doing. I don't really with mystical agriculture. I used it a little bit last couple months in Enigmatica 2 Expert. But I didn't combine it with AgriCraft. Let's go ahead and use the Empowerer once. I'm going to pause here and see how much time we have left, and we'll see if maybe we can bust out the dank null. Be right back. Alright, so we got a little bit of time left, so let's do some empowering. So I brought my energy cell down here and slapped it onto the existing Ender Energy Conduits. And I'm inserting the components manually for now until I get some big item filters. But hey, we have empowered something. So there's one. And let's go ahead and keep going. Get a feel for how much energy draw we're having. So we are coming up on almost 1 million. So we got plenty of power probably to do the 15 combines that I want to do. 3 each of all of the colors except for black. So we should be good to go. So there we have a second one. So the dank nulls are going to take let's look at that recipe as soon as I set this up again. So they're going to take 4 of these, and each of these takes 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. And so 2 blocks will break down into 18. And then I made a 3rd block just to have some spare stuff around. So that's why I'm doing 3. We'll use up most of 2 as we break it down. We probably have to use the factionator. I'm going to go double check that real quick because it would suck if you can't break these down. Oops. Let's see what the recipe says. Factorizer, yes. Oops, we got to turn it to split. Alrighty. Cool, cool. So I won't make you guys sit through all of this, but we'll start one more off, and then I will pause the recording and finish up, and then we will make our dank null. So the palace ones actually use prismarine times 3 and a cyan dye. Having a nice big dank null is going to be a relief. Although, you know, it hasn't been too bad. You guys have seen my my setup where I use Global Traveler to send the products that I get mined into those chests, and it hasn't been too bad. All right, well, I'm going to pause the recording here, and I'm going to finish up the rest of this empowering, and then we'll make the dank null. Be right back. All right, we are finished, and we used up about less than 3 million. That's not too bad. About 2.55 million. So we still have plenty of power, so that's good. And it went pretty fast. I had decent energy going into our pedestals, so they didn't chug for power too bad. So that is all good. I did remember, however, that I don't think I have all the other ingredients necessary for the dank null yet. Let me see what we need. I'll need to make a bunch of stained glass. I've got some rose red or some poppies, lapis for blue, white. I can use bone meal. I've got some dandelion from yellow. You can get that by just bone mealing grass, so the red and the yellow is easy. And with red and yellow you can make some of the other colors, especially when you have lapis for blue. These guys require cyan. We can make that with lapis and cactus, and then green for the cactus. And then do they all take dark steel? Yeah, it looks like they all take dark steel. So I'm going to need 4 times 4 is 16 times 5. So I'm going to need, or no, times 6. So I'm going to need a stack and a half of dark steel. Do not think I have a stack and a half of dark steel. So I may have to pause again. I apparently do not have any dark steel left. Do I have any over here? Nope. Alright, well I will pause again and I'll make us a stack and a half of dark steel and then we will have a dank null. Be right back. Alright, we're back. It took a little longer than I had hoped because I forgot that right before this episode I threw about a couple thousand cobblestone in my crusher, which is slow, and so it was still chugging through that and probably is still chugging through that. So I couldn't use my really fast alloy smelter to make dark steel. I had to make it in the smeltery, which is slow and cumbersome. But did it. Got some 96 dark steel. I made us some stained glass panes, so we should be good to go there. Fortunately I checked, but it turns out that the blue guys for lapis are actually light blue stained, so you can mix lapis and bone meal to get light blue. Cyan, you can mix lapis and cactus to get cyan dye, and lime for the green, you can mix cactus green and bone meal to get lime. But I think we are good to go now. So we do this. What just happened? Oh, I didn't put these up there. Alright, there we go. So we got the 4 of those. Oh, and I forgot what goes in the middle. Think. Nothing goes in the middle. Oh, a dev null goes in the middle. I couldn't see it. Alright, we can make those. Let's make the rest of our panels. I guess we only need 1 dank null for, what was that? Stone and any cobblestone and an apple. Do we have cobblestone in here? Oops, do not pull that out. Cobblestone. Apple. All right. Yay, we are on our way. Let's bust out the rest of this stuff. Boom, 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 bang, bong. I ain't messing around with no little dank null. I like big dank nulls and I can't deny. So we're going straight for the big boy, because why not? I should mention that I did get, I think, over a stack of, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I got over a stack of emeralds by just trading rotten flesh to clerics in that, those villages I went to, and also raw pork chops to butchers. So that was good. Oops. last but not least, whoops, let's go ahead and do this. And what did you do? Did you dump my dark steel in here? Yes, you did. How rude. Okay, here we go. Oh, fugger. I did not pause in between to get quest updates. Gosh darn it. Did I need to? Yes, I did. Well, great. Dang it, I was looking forward to that 30 points there. So I might have to make more. Important safety tip. Don't get so excited for your big dank null that you forget to record your little dank nulls. I guess it wouldn't hurt to have 2 dank nulls. Alright, well, I'm going to pause here. All I got to do is make up. I think I probably... do I need to empower more stuff? Yeah, I'm going to need to empower more stuff. So, to get credit for the quests, we are going to have to go ahead and make another dank null. Which, that was a mistake on my part. It's late, and I was excited to get my dank null, so I got ahead of myself. But we were able to claim all of that business, and we did get the dark steel completion. So that is another 15. $575, or like under 200 away. And the dank null would have been another 30. So I'm going to go ahead and bite the bullet and at least make up through, I only got to make the first 4 over. So we'll make up through a yellow dank null, a Mark IV. Wouldn't hurt to have another one. What I can do, it has 36 slots and holds 2,000 in each slot. That's a pretty decent amount. I can use it for building supplies. So my main one will be just general junk and all the stuff I get while mining. And then the secondary one I can fill with building supplies for when I'm doing massive building. So not a huge loss, just a little time. But anyway, we are dank nullin', so that is cool. So I'll build up through this one. I'll leave this as it is so we get credit for that, and then I'll upgrade it to the 5. And we'll end up with, or the 6, so we'll end up with a 4 and a 6. A 6 for all the normal stuff and mining and all the day-to-day garbage, and then a Mark IV for building materials. So that'll be cool. It will be alright. I've got plenty of panels, so basically I just need to make more dark steel and run. I did make extras of the empowered junk, so unfortunately it's not enough extra, so I'll need to make one more set of each of these blocks, which is not a big deal. I think I have everything, even have the vines now since it made 16 from that one recipe. So with that, I think it's time to call it an episode. I did mention that maybe we would blow up a few more chickens, so let's take out our disappointment at missing out on that rack and having to build more stuff by blowing up a couple chickens. Here. And let's see what moo cows we got. I keep calling them moo cows instead of MooFluid. Molten iridium, already got one, and seed oil. I think I've already got one of them too. So probably don't need those. I am getting a lot of repeats at this point. I would like to get a second Grassoline, so that maybe I could breed them up if I end up using Grassoline as my power supply. And then also it's possible that there are some that I haven't seen yet. I did get a crude oil. I wouldn't mind getting a gasoline one or a diesel one. I wouldn't mind getting a few things. I have a resonant ender and an enderium one, so that's handy. Anyway, there are other things that I think are possible that I could get. So I'm going to keep blowing stuff up. I have enough feed here for a few more. Let's go do a few more. And these are real easy to make, so other than the annoyance of having a chicken farm. Getting a lot of the extra planets stuff, like clean water and radioactive water and infected water. Ooh, naphtha. I didn't have him, and I want him, so that's good. And 2 clean waters. All right. Naphtha is only one step away from, if we hit uses, it's only one step away from refined fuel. Naphtha, if we go, let's see, uses, compression dynamo, it's 1,000,000 RF per tick, so it's even better than the Grassoline that I've got going. And if we refine it into refined fuel, then refined fuel is 1.5 million RF per bucket. So that's some pretty good stuff there. So I'm glad I kept going. I'm glad I think I had a naphtha, but I think I lost it. I think it died in the whole molten Constantan debacle, where I accidentally spilled a bucket of molten Constantan and killed 2 or 3 cows. But glad we have another naphtha. And what am I looking for here? It's late. I'm sleepy. Grab this cow, and he's going to end up taking the spot. So here are the soul vial. If I mouse over it, you can see fluid name naphtha. So the soul vials do a good job of telling you what type of fluid cow, as opposed to other types of animal holding things. So he's going to end up taking the place. I'll do this tomorrow, but he's going to end up taking the place of my Grassoline guy. Got 145 buckets of Grassoline. We can run that through, but my naphtha guy will take the place. And we'll either run naphtha through, or we'll refine it into refined fuel. And actually, basically, I'm going to keep going with more cows for a while. And if I can get a breeding pair of Grassoline or naphtha, then we'll go with that. If not, I just might make a big herd of tree oil guys. Whatever I can breed a bunch of. Once I get up to an industrial foregoing rancher that will milk an area for me, so that we can pump out large amounts of whatever we're going to burn in the combustion dynamos, that's probably the cow we'll go with. So anyway, I think we're probably running over time here, so I'm going to call it an episode. Thanks for watching. Hope you're enjoying. Please leave a comment if you have any questions or any suggestions on things that I could be doing better or tricks that I'm missing. There are lots of mods that I'm unfamiliar with here, so I'm sure I'm missing something. And I will talk to you later.